There are people who have crossed into the realm of death. Their hearts stopped. Their brains showed no activity. And yet, when they returned, they spoke of seeing their own bodies from the outside. Science calls it clinical death, but even today, there is no complete explanation. Have you ever heard the story of someone who died and then came back? Doctors called it a clinical death. The heart stopped. The brain showed no activity. And yet, when they returned, they described something impossible. They said they floated above the operating table, watching doctors try to revive them. They recalled details, the color of the gloves, the exact words spoken, things they should not have been able to know. Cases like this have been reported around the world, from hospitals in America to quiet villages in Asia. Different cultures, different people, and yet the stories are hauntingly similar. A tunnel of light, a feeling of peace, loved ones waiting beyond, and then the sudden pull back into the body. Science has tried to explain it. Hallucinations, chemical reactions in a dying brain, but there is still no final answer. And that leaves us with a question that refuses to fade. If consciousness can exist outside the body, even for a moment, then what does that say about who we really are? Tonight, we step into that mystery. Not to claim what is true or false, but to listen to stories, to science, and to the echoes of a mind beyond this world. So what is consciousness, really? And is it truly confined within this body? Neuroscience has come a long way. We can observe different regions of the brain, see neurons firing when we move, when a memory returns, or when a dream quietly unfolds in sleep. We know this. When the brain stops functioning, ordinary awareness begins to fade. And yet the question has never been answered. Why do these electrical and chemical reactions give rise to the vivid experience of I exist? This is what philosophers and scientists call the hard problem of consciousness. We can describe the mechanisms, but we cannot grasp the very feeling of presence itself. In physics, experiments have revealed something strange. When particles are observed, the outcome changes. Some theories suggest that consciousness might play a role in shaping reality. Yet science remains cautious. The phenomenon is real, but linking it directly to human awareness still has no proof. While laboratories hesitate, both East and West have whispered of this mystery for centuries. Descartes once spoke of mind and body as two separate realms. William James described consciousness as a stream, continuous, unceasing, carrying us forward moment by moment. And in the meditation halls of Asia, monks sit in silence, watching awareness itself. The breath slows. Thoughts come and go, like clouds drifting across a vast sky. In the stillness, they sense that consciousness is not trapped within the body, but spreads through all things. Perhaps it is only subjective experience, but perhaps it is a door half open. Each morning, when you open your eyes, when the first thought appears, a whole universe of experience begins again. We call it ordinary, but maybe it is the most extraordinary thing of all. I often imagine consciousness as a river. We step into it, touch it for a brief lifetime, and then we leave. But the river keeps flowing, endless, independent of us. This is not a conclusion, nor is it an answer, only an image, a way of sitting quietly with the unknown. And perhaps it is this very unknowing that makes consciousness an endless journey, a journey not only for science, but for every living being. Because if awareness truly extends beyond the body, then every near-death account, every tale of rebirth, every echo of memory across time is worth listening to. And that is where we now turn to the stories, the legends, the quiet voices that whisper from beyond the veil. If science cannot yet explain it fully, then humanity for countless generations has tried to tell it through stories. Stories that appear everywhere, in modern hospitals, in distant villages, and in monasteries heavy with incense smoke. They are not always backed by evidence, yet they echo each other in uncanny ways. People say that when the heart has stopped beating, when the brain has gone silent, consciousness seems to continue its journey. Some describe leaving the body, looking down at their motionless form. Some speak of walking through a tunnel of light, filled with a peace they had never known. Some meet loved ones long departed, as if death were not an ending, but a doorway opening to another space. These are near-death experiences recorded in medical literature, and yet science has still not given a final explanation. And the stories do not end there. There are children, barely 3 or 4 years old, who tell of memories from a life before this one, with details so precise that adults are left in silence. There are also ancient religious traditions, like those of Tibet, that have preserved for centuries the belief that great teachers can return in new bodies to continue the path they had begun. All of these echoes, whether from an emergency ward, from a child's innocent words, or from remote monasteries, lead us back to the same mystery. Does consciousness truly exist beyond the body? And if it does, where does it lead us? There is a realm of stories unlike any other, known as near-death experiences. In the emergency room, the machines suddenly go flat. The heart has stopped. The brain shows no activity. Doctors rush to compress the chest, inject medicine, do everything they can to bring the patient back. And then, just when the door of life seems to close completely, some people return. When they wake, they speak of things that leave doctors silent. They say they floated outside their bodies, hovering near the ceiling, watching their own form lying motionless, seeing the doctor's hands working urgently, even hearing words spoken around them. Stranger still, some of these details are strikingly accurate, things they should not have been able to know. The color of the gloves, an object in the corner of the room, a brief exchange between the nurses. And these stories are not from one place alone. They appear across the world, in different countries, different cultures, yet they share uncanny similarities. A tunnel of light, a feeling of profound peace, loved ones waiting on the other side. And then a sudden pull, drawing them back into the body, back into heartbeat, back into breath. Science has tried to explain. Some say it is an illusion caused by lack of oxygen to the brain. Others suggest it is a chemical surge in the final moments, creating visions of light and comfort. But even now, there is no explanation that satisfies everyone. And so, the near-death experience remains, resting at the border of medicine and mystery, like a faint echo that refuses to fade, leaving us again with the old question: does consciousness truly continue, even when the body has ceased to live? And then there are the voices of children, quietly recalling lives that came before. For decades, an American psychiatrist named Ian Stevenson from the University of Virginia devoted his life to following strange stories. He did not search in mystical places far away. He simply listened to the words of children. Children only 3 or 4 years old, suddenly speaking of another life, a different house, a different family, even the details of their own death. Stevenson recorded more than 2,000 such cases, stretching across Asia, Africa, and the Americas. Many of these stories could be dismissed as imagination, but some contain details that were verified in surprising ways. A child in India described exactly the village where he once lived and recognized strangers as his family. A young boy in Lebanon spoke clearly of names, professions, and the circumstances of his previous death, so precisely that adults went to check and found matches. Of course, these studies remain deeply controversial. Mainstream science has never accepted reincarnation as a proven phenomenon. Some argue it is only coincidence, or memories overheard from adults, retold in childhood. But Stevenson did not try to prove a religion. He only collected, recorded, and left behind an open question. If memory can sometimes cross the boundary of one lifetime, what does that say about consciousness itself? Even today, Stevenson's work remains, not considered proof, yet never fully dismissed. It lingers quietly, a collection of faint echoes from the lips of children, reminding us that consciousness may be larger than we imagine. Perhaps nowhere is this belief more alive than in the mountains of Tibet, where masters are said to return in new forms. The words of children, though debated and uncertain, still leave us wondering if memory can stretch beyond a single life. Does something of us continue after death? Perhaps the place where this belief is most deeply nurtured is Tibet, in monasteries nestled among the snowy Himalayas, where chants drift with the wind and butter lamps flicker through the night. There, people believe that great masters can return, not as symbols, but truly alive, within a new body. This is the Tulku tradition of Tibetan Buddhism. When a lama passes away, disciples begin their search. They note strange dreams, prophecies heard in meditation, or even marks left on the master's body as if clues had been placed to guide them to the next incarnation. The most famous story is that of the 14th Dalai Lama. After the death of his predecessor, monks carried a wooden chest filled with objects once belonging to him. They traveled across distant lands until they found a small boy in Amdo, Tibet. When tested, among many similar items, the boy unhesitatingly chose those that had belonged to the former Dalai Lama. In that moment, the monks believed they had found the master's new life. The tradition is not unique to the Dalai Lama. The line of the Karmapas has continued for centuries in the same way, each life leaving signs for the next, like a red thread stretched across time, keeping the spiritual flame alive. And sometimes, the reincarnation appears far from Tibet. Tenzin Oselhita, a boy born in Spain in 1985, was recognized by the 14th Dalai Lama as the Tulku, the rebirth of Lama Thubten Yeshe, a revered teacher who had passed away not long before. The recognition caused a stir, for it suggested that in the cycle of rebirth, neither borders nor cultures can stand as barriers. From the Tibetan perspective, these events are living truths, preserved for centuries. From the lens of modern science, they remain matters of faith, not proven by experiment. And yet, amid the vast Himalayan night, when the temple drums echo through the valleys, many still believe a soul may return within the fragile body of a child, carrying unfinished memories to continue a path left incomplete. And in the vast philosophies of India, a stranger idea emerges, the Akashic Records, a cosmic memory that never fades. From ancient times in Indian philosophy, there has been a strange idea. Akasha, the vast space, the subtle foundation of all things. According to this belief, every thought, every feeling, every action of a human being never truly disappears. They are recorded like lines etched into an invisible book. By the 19th century, this concept was adopted by Western theosophy and given the name Akashic Records, a cosmic library that holds the entire history and potential of humanity. It was said that those with special abilities could read into this library, seeing memories of past lives or glimpses of futures yet to come. Of course, to this day, no scientific evidence has ever confirmed the existence of such cosmic records. It remains only a belief, a notion resting between philosophy and mysticism. And yet, even as a symbol, the image of the Akashic Records retains a strange power. It suggests that everything we think, everything we do, leaves a trace not only in the hearts of others, but perhaps in a vast space far greater than we imagine. Perhaps that is why this idea still echoes today like a whisper, reminding us that human consciousness may be part of a shared memory, a boundless stream that flows beyond the body. If the cosmic records remain only a symbolic idea, then in the 20th century, people tried to test similar possibilities through science and experiment. In secret rooms, far from public light, studies were carried out. Researchers wanted to know whether consciousness could reach beyond the body, see distant places, or perceive what should have been impossible. These became the controversial investigations into remote viewing and psychic perception, modern attempts to trace the presence of a mind unbound by space and time. Even in the modern age, the mystery returns, hidden inside secret Cold War experiments on the human mind. In the tense years of the Cold War, behind closed doors and silent meetings, both the United States and the Soviet Union stepped into a strange frontier. They wanted to know, could the human mind reach beyond physical distance, seeing places that the eyes could never touch? In the 1970s, the United States launched a secret program called Stargate. In quiet rooms, remote viewers sat in stillness, focused on their breath, and began to draw or write the images they claimed to see, targets thousands of miles away. At times, the results were startling. Pat Price, one of the participants, was asked to describe a Soviet military base. He closed his eyes and sketched long, low buildings, a tall antenna rising in the yard, and equipment stored in a hangar. Later, satellite images revealed details that matched his description closely. Another case was Ingo Swann. He was asked to look at Jupiter. In his notes, he described a thin ring around the planet. At that time, science knew nothing of such a feature. But years later, when Voyager passed by, it confirmed that Jupiter does indeed have rings. Stories like these were enough to keep the program alive for years, with hundreds of sessions recorded. And yet, there was always a problem. The results were never consistent. One session might be astonishingly accurate, while many others dissolved into vagueness, failing to meet scientific standards. Eventually, the program was shut down. But the records remain, like pages from a strange diary of an age, when people truly believed that consciousness itself might be used as a tool of intelligence. Today, most scientists regard remote viewing as unreliable and unproven. And yet, between the lines of those old reports, a quiet question lingers. Could the human mind really step beyond the body and glimpse something on the other side of space and distance? We have just walked through secret files, through strange experiments once locked away, through stories that made even scientists and spies pause in silence. And what remains is a kind of echo, a feeling that whenever we think we have found an answer, the mystery only opens into deeper layers. Perhaps it is all illusion, the mind painting shapes on a blank canvas. But perhaps these are tiny cracks, glimpses into a wider reality, where consciousness is not bound at all. In this very moment, you may choose to believe, or simply smile and let it pass. But one truth cannot be denied. You are conscious. You are present. You are here, listening. And that alone is already a miracle. Yet the question continues to whisper. If consciousness truly goes beyond the body, if it can outlast death itself, then what waits on the other side? Is it dissolution, a memory shared by the cosmos, or another journey, one we have never imagined? The answer still lies beyond our reach. And perhaps it is that very uncertainty that makes this mystery so compelling. Let the question remain with you, like a quiet, unsettling echo, reminding us that the journey of consciousness is far from over.